She was on top of the world, cheered by thousands, trending everywhere, living her dream. But within days, her mugshot was all over the internet. What happened between the spotlight and the cell? This is the fall land, maybe the GloRilla. And trust me, you have never heard the full story like this. Just a few days ago, GloRilla was the star of the show at the 2025 WNBA All-Star Game halftime performance. She lit up Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis with her signature flair and fearless energy. Dressed in her bold style and rapping with full confidence, she owned that stage. It was a proud moment, another big win in her fast-growing career. The crowd roared. Social media exploded, and GloRilla's name was everywhere. Her WNBA All-Star performance had set the internet on fire. Videos of her bold entrance, her energy on stage, and her fearless delivery were shared across every platform. Fans and celebrities alike were praising her talent and presence. For a moment, it felt like she was on top of the world. She had turned the halftime show into her own concert, and the buzz that followed made one thing clear: GloRilla was not just rising, she was soaring. From the streets of Memphis to national stages, GloRilla had made a name for herself with her raw voice, unapologetic lyrics, and fearless attitude. Her journey was not polished or handed to her. She had fought for every inch of her success. With each performance and each feature, her fame grew. Music blogs highlighted her as the next big thing. She landed brand collaborations in fashion. She was nominated for a Grammy. Her story inspired millions who saw themselves in her grind. It seemed like nothing could stop her momentum. But then everything took a sharp and unexpected turn. Just a few days after that career-defining performance, headlines broke that GloRilla, whose real name is Gloria Hallelujah Woods, had been arrested in Georgia. The news shocked everyone. It was not for a traffic violation or a minor dispute. She had been booked in Forsyth County on serious felony drug charges. Reports confirmed that she was arrested for possession of a controlled substance and more than an ounce of marijuana. The contrast was jarring. One moment she was commanding the spotlight in front of thousands of fans. The next, her mugshot was circulating online. It felt unreal. Fans were left confused and heartbroken. How could someone who had just delivered a powerful performance at a major national event end up behind bars within the same week? Social media lit up again, but this time it was not for celebration. People began asking questions. What happened? Why was she arrested? Was she alone? Was it really her drugs? The details were scarce. All that was known was the nature of the charges and the location of the arrest. She was taken into custody and released the same day after posting a $22,000 bond. No further statements came from her team or law enforcement. The silence left room for speculation, and the internet filled it quickly. GloRilla's fans, many of whom had been rooting for her since her early days, found themselves torn. Some rushed to defend her, saying everyone makes mistakes and that she deserved another chance. They pointed out how difficult fame can be, especially when it comes suddenly and with so much pressure. Others were more critical. They brought up her 2024 DUI arrest, also in Georgia, and started to question whether a pattern was forming. This latest arrest hit harder because it came at a time when her career was reaching new heights. The disappointment many fans felt was not from judgment, but from concern. They had seen in GloRilla a symbol of strength, a woman who had built her name from the ground up without favors or shortcuts. She represented possibility, especially for young Black women who rarely see themselves celebrated in the spotlight. The situation also raised bigger questions about the pressures placed on artists, especially those who come from difficult backgrounds. Was she struggling behind the scenes? Was fame moving too fast for her to keep up with? Or was she simply making bad decisions? Some started pointing fingers at the people around her. Why would someone with so much on the line be in a situation like that in a state known for strict drug laws? There were no answers, just guesses, frustration, and fear of what might come next. Meanwhile, GloRilla's social media went completely silent. No posts, no videos, no explanations. This was unusual for someone who had always shared so much of her journey, her studio sessions, her funny moments, her words of motivation. The quietness only made fans more worried. Was she staying silent for legal reasons? Or was she overwhelmed by the backlash and pressure? News outlets picked up the story fast. Some focused on her legal trouble. Others tried to balance the coverage by reminding people of her recent success. But no matter how the story was told, one truth remained. The spotlight had shifted. The headlines were no longer about her music. They were about her arrest. The timing could not have been worse. GloRilla had major projects lined up. Brands and labels had bet on her stardom. And now, those plans were at risk. In the music industry, legal trouble can mean canceled deals, pulled appearances, and closed doors. The uncertainty made every move she might make next feel even more important. But, as serious as the moment was, many still believed in her comeback. Her journey had never been easy, and she had overcome plenty before. This could be another challenge that she turns into a turning point. If she chooses to speak up, take accountability, and use this experience to grow not just in her career, but personally, it could become a powerful part of her story. Right now, the world is watching and waiting. And though the path forward is unclear, one thing is certain: GloRilla still has a chance to rise again. But that choice belongs to her. The moment her mugshot hit the internet, it spread like wildfire. Fans were stunned. Just a few days earlier, she had owned the stage at a major basketball event, dazzling thousands with her energy and star power. Now, she was facing a completely different spotlight, the harsh lighting of a jail cell. The contrast was jarring. How could someone go from such a high point to being arrested and charged with felonies so quickly? It felt almost unreal. Her name, once trending for her music, was now plastered across headlines for all the wrong reasons. Gloria Hallelujah Woods, known to fans as GloRilla, had suddenly become the center of a scandal. What had seemed like a winning streak came to a halt when she was booked in Forsyth County, Georgia. According to reports, she faced serious accusations, felony possession of a controlled substance, and more than an ounce of marijuana. The charges were not minor, and the news hit hard. Later that same day, she was released after posting a $22,000 bond. But even with her freedom regained, the situation raised more questions than it answered. And then it all went quiet. GloRilla did not release a statement. Her lawyers stayed silent. The police offered no explanation beyond the basic arrest report. The silence was loud. The public was left in the dark, stuck between speculation and confusion. Everyone wanted to know what really happened in Forsyth County. Why was she even there? Was this just a misunderstanding, a lapse in judgment, or a sign of something more troubling behind the scenes? With no details to go on, curiosity turned into concern. People started piecing together theories. Some believed it was a setup. Others thought it might have been a simple mistake that spiraled out of control. A few even questioned if GloRilla was surrounded by the wrong people, ones who might be leading her into trouble. But all of it was just guesswork. No one had real answers. What made it even more difficult for fans was how fast everything changed. One minute, she was on top of the world. The next, she was facing charges that could seriously impact her career. For someone who had worked so hard to rise from Memphis streets to national stardom, the fall felt sudden and sad. In the absence of facts, people were left holding on to hope. Hope that this was just a bump in the road. Hope that she would speak out soon. And above all, hope that this would not be the moment that defined her story. For longtime fans who have followed her journey, this moment was heartbreaking. Her name was trending again, but not for her music. Once the shock wore off, people started looking at the legal side of things. And what they found was serious. In Georgia, being caught with a Schedule 1 or 2 controlled substance is a felony, not a minor offense. That means GloRilla could be facing jail time if convicted. Even the marijuana charge, which may not matter much in other states, is a felony. In Georgia, if it involves more than an ounce, the law does not bend for fame. So even though she walked free the same day, the consequences still hang over her. What worried people even more was that this was not her first run-in with the law. In April 2024, she was arrested for DUI in Georgia after making a U-turn at a red light. Officers reported smelling alcohol and marijuana in the car. And GloRilla admitted she had been drinking earlier that evening. Back then, many fans gave her the benefit of the doubt. They saw it as a one-time mistake. But now, with another arrest, and more serious charges, people began to wonder if there was a deeper issue. Could this be a pattern? Or was something troubling going on behind the scenes that fans did not know about? The fact that this happened so soon after a major public performance only added to the confusion. She had just performed in front of huge crowds, with sponsors and cameras watching. Her career was booming, Grammy nominations, charting songs, big endorsements. So why was she getting caught up in serious legal trouble again? Some questioned if the pressure of fame was too much. Others thought she might be surrounded by the wrong people or struggling privately in ways no one had seen. What made things even more intense was the silence. GloRilla and her team did not release any statement, and that left fans guessing. Usually, in high-profile arrests, publicists step in quickly to explain or calm the public. But this time, there was nothing. And that silence made space for rumors to grow. Social media was full of theories. Some blamed the justice system. Others pointed fingers at her inner circle. But the truth remained unclear. No one really knew what led to her arrest in Forsyth County. And for her supporters, that mystery made everything feel heavier, more serious, and deeply personal. As people continued watching the situation unfold, experts began weighing in. The charges were serious, not just because of the legal consequences, but because they could impact her future. In Georgia, felony convictions can mean years in prison. Even if she avoids jail through a deal, having a felony on her record could affect touring, travel, and brand deals. Sponsors, labels, and media outlets often back away from artists facing legal trouble, especially when drugs are involved. The risk to her career was growing by the day. Industry insiders were already asking, could this arrest lead to canceled shows, lost contracts? For GloRilla, the stakes had never been higher. GloRilla had been on a roll lately. Her name was showing up on top playlists, music blogs were buzzing about her, and she had even started landing fashion deals. Her WNBA All-Star Game performance felt like one more victory in what was shaping up to be a breakout year for her. But now, after her recent arrest, everything seemed to be hanging in the balance. It was not just about whether she would face jail time. The bigger question was whether her image and all she had built could survive the public scrutiny. Online, fans were split. Some defended her, saying everyone makes mistakes and she deserves a chance to grow. Others were more critical, bringing up her previous DUI and wondering if a pattern was beginning to show. The situation hit especially hard for young Black women who had seen GloRilla as a role model, someone who represented strength, ambition, and independence. Her story, rising from Memphis streets to national fame, inspired so many. But now, her image was being tested, and some fans felt hurt. Not out of anger, but because they had hoped for better for her. Soon, people started pointing fingers. Was this all due to poor choices, bad influences, or a lack of good guidance? Some questioned why someone with so much to lose would take such a risky chance, especially in a state known for tough drug laws. Was she alone? Were the drugs even hers? There were no answers, just questions, and in their place, plenty of rumors. One thing most people agreed on: something seemed off. Whether it was the stress of fame, personal issues, or simply a bad decision, GloRilla was now caught in a legal storm. It could either knock her off course or become the challenge that fueled her comeback, but the longer she stayed silent, the louder the questions became. GloRilla had always been active online, posting freestyles, behind-the-scenes videos, and uplifting messages. So when her accounts went quiet, fans grew concerned. Was she staying quiet for legal reasons? Or was the weight of the backlash too much? With no word from her or her team, everyone was left guessing. The silence only made the mystery around her arrest feel deeper. Meanwhile, the media ran wild with the story. Headlines flashed her mugshot across the screen. Some reports painted her in a bad light, while others talked about the pressures she might be under. Either way, the narrative had changed. The focus was no longer on her music or success, it was now on the trouble she was in. And the timing could not have been worse. With big projects in motion and her name trending for all the right reasons just days earlier, the arrest shifted the spotlight. Insiders wondered if her team was planning a public apology or a quiet legal strategy. Would she address it directly or keep silent and try to move past it? No one knew. Even fellow artists said nothing. There were no tweets, no statements of support, just silence. That lack of response from the music world said a lot. It felt like everyone was waiting to see what GloRilla would do next. Would she bounce back stronger, or would the pressure be too much? On platforms like TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, fans reacted in real time. Some posted clips of her past interviews, comparing the confident star they admired with the woman now facing serious charges. Supporters left messages urging her to learn from this and come back better. Others expressed their sadness not from judgment, but from disappointment. To many, GloRilla was more than a rapper. She stood for resilience, proof that someone from tough beginnings could rise to the top. Now, people were afraid that everything she had worked for could fall apart. The impact of her arrest was not just legal, it was emotional. It shook the image and the hope she represented. GloRilla's rise had always been about realness and honesty. That is what drew people to her. But this moment added a difficult chapter to her story, one nobody saw coming. The question now was whether she would use this experience to grow, or if it would lead her down a more troubling path. One thing is certain, this is not where her story ends. This moment feels like a turning point. With everyone still watching and waiting, the real question is, what will GloRilla do next? Will she break her silence and explain her side? Will she step back into the spotlight with strength, or let the headlines shape the story for her? In the entertainment world, timing matters. Every move counts. And right now, fans are holding on to hope. They want to see her rise again, but they also know one misstep could put everything at risk. Behind closed doors, serious talks are probably happening. Her team, her lawyers, her label, they all know just how high the stakes are. A Grammy-nominated rapper disappearing from the spotlight never goes unnoticed, and it never comes without consequences. If GloRilla wanted to make a real comeback, this was the time to step up, show growth, take responsibility, and prove her strength. Many artists have faced tough times and come back even stronger. Meek Mill, Cardi B, Lil Kim, T.I., they all went through public drama. But not everyone makes it out the other side. Some lose everything by staying quiet. Others grab control of their story and come back with more power than ever. Whether she liked it or not, GloRilla was now carrying the weight of being a role model. Her journey was no longer just about her music or her fame, it had become about pressure, decisions, and how easily success can slip away if things go wrong. Would she drop a new track telling her side of the story? Would she speak honestly to her fans and explain what happened? Or would the silence stretch on, slowly damaging her reputation while the world moved on to someone else? Right now, all eyes are on her. What began as a celebration of her shining moment at the WNBA All-Star Game has turned into a serious and emotional chapter in her life. The charges, the silence, her past run-ins with the law of it now casts a shadow over her career. But even when things seem darkest, there is always a chance to turn it around. GloRilla has already proven she can rise through struggle. Maybe this is her moment to wake up and come back even stronger, and this time, not just with a new verse or performance, but with real, personal growth. What made it all harder for fans was how fast the narrative changed. Just months ago, she was being praised as one of the boldest new voices in hip-hop. A young woman with real talent, a tough backstory, and an energy that felt unstoppable. She did not come from fame. She did not get handed anything. She earned her success. That is what made people connect with her. Her accent, her confidence, her raw lyrics. She spoke for girls who are often left out of the spotlight, the ones who had to fight for every win. So when the arrest made headlines, it felt deeper than just another celebrity scandal. It hit home. For a lot of people who saw themselves in her journey, fans began asking bigger questions, especially about how the music industry and the public treat Black women when they make mistakes. Online, people pointed out how male rappers often recover easily from legal troubles, sometimes even gaining more fame, while women are judged harder and cancelled faster. Was GloRilla being treated differently? Were people too quick to turn on her, or was this simply about her choices catching up with her? No matter the answer, her situation started a bigger conversation about fame, fairness, and how Black women are supported or not when they hit a rough patch. And through all the noise, one thing stayed true. GloRilla still had a chance to rewrite her story. Yes, the legal issues were serious. And yes, her silence raised concerns. But this did not have to be the end of her journey. It could become something meaningful. It could become her lesson, her turning point, her fuel for a stronger comeback. If she faced the moment head-on, took responsibility, and made the changes needed, not just in court, but in her personal life, this chapter could shape her into someone wiser and more powerful. But no one else can make that decision. Not the fans, not the critics, not the lawyers or label. Only GloRilla can choose what this moment becomes, a breakdown or a breakthrough.